spoke with Kay Sue about her argument as a lawyer and a former ACLU fellow, and I asked her where the ACLU can go from here at what seems to be a fork in the road. Kay Sue, you felt you had to speak out about this issue with the ACLU and what speech they feel is worth protecting and fighting for. Why did you feel like you needed to weigh in?
What I really wanted to make clear in that op-ed was that the question of what the limits of the First Amendment should be or how strong the First Amendment should be is actually a different question from what should the ACLU be doing. So I wanted to write a piece that really focused on the legal advocacy strategy piece of it. Why would the ACLU be taking these cases? Every organization with lawyers is going to be making choices like this. And so the choice to represent white supremacists and Nazis, I understand that it's a very important part of ACLU history and tradition. It's an enormously powerful symbolic gesture that came about at a time when the ACLU wanted to prove something in the courts in the 1950s. And obviously the power of that gesture has been very lasting and impacted the whole tradition, but it's not actually correct to say that since they represent those people, they are representing everybody. That's just, those two things just don't follow from each other. This is a free speech problem. I mean, my point about needing to think about free speech more broadly was to say, we need to think about free speech in these terms, and we need to think about the free speech rights that are being affected the First Amendment litigation isn't going to address. Certainly there are some cases that fit the pattern a little more neatly, and being denied a permit in Charlottesville fits that pattern a little more neatly. But is that where there's the most need? Is that the community that can't find another lawyer, that can't find another advocate to, to stand up for their free speech rights? I don't think so at this point. I think there are huge, free speech problems that aren't being addressed, that the advocates of free speech, the greatest advocates of free speech in the whole country, should be putting their minds and resources to.
You used to work as an intern, and then you worked additionally after that while in law school with the ACLU. Today you are not a member of the ACLU. Could
That's
they
right.
convince you at this point, given their track record, to join them?
I think that they do fantastic work, some of these attorneys. I think that some of the decisions, obviously, about free speech are ones that I would want to have a discussion with. It's not that I don't support their work. They do a lot of very important work, and they should. They've also received over $20 million in donations since the Muslim bans in order to take on precisely the kinds of cases that I'd like to see them taking on. It has dismayed me to see that, there are so many cases that are not being taken, to see them choosing to represent groups like Unite the Right and Milo Yiannopoulos.